start, I want to say that everyone is entitled to their own political opinion. I also recognize that I have a privilege and will never fully understand or relate to people who suffer in poverty-stricken communities. However, the fact that people who are defending their businesses, their homes, and their safety are being deemed as racist is something that I cannot agree with. Fighting for your safety and fighting for your livelihood is something that's a natural human reaction. Those who are fighting for their businesses and are against the looting are not racist, but they are rather fighting against something that is a criminal act. We can rebuild things and replace things, but those who are excluded will always be excluded. It's something that I've seen across social media in the recent times, and it has been the main response of those who are in support of the looting that is currently going on in our beloved country. If someone came into your house and stole from you and put your family and your own self at risk, you would not sit back and say, oh, it's probably because they're poor, it's okay, let's leave them. Your first response would be to go to the police or find some way of giving justice yourself. These riots are damaging properties and small businesses which are already heavily impacted by COVID. It is making more money go into rebuilding them rather than being invested into the programs which aim at helping poverty and relieving poorer communities. It will continue the cycle of poverty, the cycle that we are trying to fight against every single day as South Africans. The Sai Center, an organization that I belong to, in the recent weeks have been planning numerous programs for the SPCA and for helping underprivileged communities, such as supplying medical supplies and providing hot meals in these cold winter months, as well as providing educational supplies to the underprivileged communities. However, everything has been put to a stop because of the violence and riots that are going on, thus preventing any help that the privileged may have given to the poor. You say that you are trying to help poverty, but what about the looting that is going on in your own underprivileged communities, such as Clarewood, Chatsworth, Alexandra? You are being the perpetrators of what you are fighting against. If it was about poverty, why are you burning and blowing things up, such as supermarkets, which help provide the things that you need as a basic necessity to live? Why are you burning places down that provide you with jobs? Why steal things from an SPCA, from a blood bank? Or why do this to trucks that are carrying food and healthcare supplies to combat the poverty-stricken communities? If you were stealing food and basic clothing, though I do not condemn any type of criminal act, it would have been more in line with what you are fighting for, rather than just stealing everything left, right, and center. You are unhappy with where the country is, but with looting, you have set back any progress that has and could have been made. All of these acts have been blasted not only on South African news, but on all foreign networks as well, and rightfully so. This will cause foreign investors to pull out and will cause our tourism, which is one of the largest sectors of our country's income, to decrease. This will create even more unemployment and poverty, thus again continuing the cycle which you are trying to fight against. This will happen and continue as long as this looting and violence is prolonged. South Africa is the poster child for African tourism and development. However, what are your acts of looting doing, or your acts of support for looting doing? We are all against South Africa being deemed as completely unsafe or as just a developing country with the progress that we have made since our democracy began in 1994. But these acts of looting and violence is just continuing to portray the stereotypical image that we were fighting against. I know not all of you who are looting or who are supporting the looting are doing so for the release of Zuma. Most are just opportunists. However, those of you that did start the looting or have joined in the looting because you want the release of Zuma, I have a question for you. How can you possibly fight for the release of someone who has caused so much damage to not only the country, but more specifically, your underprivileged communities? A majority of people know any corruption and embezzlement that takes place in a country always affects the poorest the most. It has been 3 years since our new president has tried to rectify all of the wrongdoings that has been done by our past president. However, still, how are you fighting for someone that put us down this dark path in the first place, not only as individuals, but as a country? How will his release better the situation we are in when he is the one that started it in the first place? On a different note, the looting is distracting from the biggest problem that is currently facing us. That is COVID-19. Healthcare supplies and medical centers have been looted. People who are sick are preferring to die at home or not seek any treatment because they are afraid that they are going to lose their lives or be injured, or the ambulances might not even reach them due to the looting and violence going on many main roads. Vaccinations have been put on a halt, including in underprivileged communities where infection rates are the highest and where death rates are the highest. The people who are looting are doing so without abiding to curfew, without practicing social distancing, sanitizing, or the wearing of masks, all of which is lawfully required under level 4 lockdown regulations. The people who are looting will be the same ones who will be infected with COVID-19. They will be the same ones who will increase our infection and death rate. They will be the ones who take away the medical care and supplies that are needed for those who actually try to take precautions to not get infected. Healthcare professionals and other frontline workers are already dealing with so much, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. And with you looting and perpetuating this violence, whether you are physically looting or supporting the looting, you are causing even more fear and stresses in their professions and in their daily lives, something which they have been dealing with already for the last 1 year and 7 months. Innocent people are dying due to these riots, whether they were directly or indirectly involved in these loots, or whether they are privileged or from the underprivileged communities. I could go on forever about why this is a criminal act and it's not a form of protesting. I agree that poverty is a huge problem in our country and that we as citizens need to come together to find solutions to this problem. However, looting and violence is never going to happen. In fact, it is going to set us back 100 steps. It is going to continue the cycle of poverty again, which apparently the looting is supposed to be fighting against. So before finding justifications or following both as supporters or perpetrators, please think about what this is going to do long term to our country. It is never going to end poverty. It is just going to perpetuate the cycle. It will never lead to change. And in fact, it will cause an increase in our poverty rates. It is going to cause more pain. Please be safe and please be careful about what you say and what you do, because violence, as we have seen time and time again, has never ever led to change. Nelson Mandela did not fight for the democracy and the days that we are living in. Let's help bring our country back into the light and help achieve the vision that Mandela had for our democracy in the first place. Have a safe day.